Hi boys, you heard the news? Bungie and Activision have split. I guess every single person on the internet's already heard the news thanks to Destiny tubers. Destiny tubers, that even still a thing? It's funny, man, how unpopular Destiny is. Still has people who dedicate their channels to it. Anyways, what I wanted to talk about in today's video is going to be discussing just that. So if you're here for the Bungie Activision split, tune in just a little bit longer, I'll get to it, you'll be good to go. This is a pretty extensive video, and I'm not just stretching out the video for any particular reason, other than the fact that I'm covering like 15 years to 20 years of history here, so yeah, of course it's going to be long. I want to detail my own experiences with some Bungie games, but mostly focus on Destiny 2 and the things that are going on with Activision itself. There's a lot of negativity around Activision due to this split. However, before we jump into that, if you've been missing my videos, just click that subscribe button and check back here daily for more video game news. I assure you, I'll try my best to bring high quality videos your way. Now, let's jump into one of the biggest splits of the decade. I want to begin with the obvious that Bungie and Activision have split, Bungie being the developer of games, specifically Destiny 2 in this instance, and Activision being the parent company publisher. A good amount of people have blamed Activision for their big shadowy hand in what happened with Destiny. But I don't particularly think so at all. In fact, I'm not defending Activision at all, but I want to explain why the split really isn't going to hurt Activision, nor will Bungie likely change due to the split, and how all of this is nothing more than Bungie just having the funds to do its own thing for a while. Right now, the only reason that Bungie would split off from Activision is if they didn't like what the parent company was telling them to do, interfering with their development. But really, I'm going to go in depth and tell you just exactly why nothing's going to change from this, even if it sounds really great that Activision is no longer controlling Bungie. Originally, Bungie was finished with Halo when they developed Halo 3, and it was a good game. I mean, I'm really telling you, it was awesome. If you never played Halo 3, you need to do that. I was really surprised to hear that the developer had nothing major planned after Halo 3, or rather, nothing planned enough that was going to just be a game. They couldn't just say, oh yeah, we're going instantly into Destiny. Here's the game, here's our idea, things like that. So yeah, you finish up a big game, of course you're not going to have that ready. Bungie was still on the hook to Microsoft, however. That's the problem. The original publishing company for Bungie, and it's why we got Halo and Halo 2 on the Xbox and PC, and subsequently the 360 and Xbox One. But I digress. It's almost as if they didn't port Halo 3 to promote the sales of the 360. But Microsoft would never do anything grimy like that. Microsoft has a habit of acquiring devs, and said devs disappear. In the cases of the excellent Rare, they were poofed out of existence after acquired by Microsoft. So, Rare being a developer whom was behind the GoldenEye and Banjo-Kazooie games on the Nintendo 64, among many other games. They did a lot of really awesome games, which is probably why Microsoft bought them. Inevitably, though, Bungie was finished with Halo, but Microsoft was not. 2 games were made. Halo ODST, which was more like a side story than a main Halo game itself, where it followed the ODST troopers of the game. It's not a bad game, but I really wouldn't suggest it over a lot of the other Halo games, if that makes sense. And then there was Halo Reach, which, man, that's awesome. Now, here's the thing. We're getting interesting here. In Halo ODST, the Easter egg for where Bungie was planning to get into developing Destiny itself is actually in that game. You can look back and it's amazing to actually see that. That's a real thing. But unfortunately, Reach was the final game developed before 343i was going to assume control of Halo itself. And while Reach is a great game, it is a prequel to the events of Halo, the first Halo, Halo CE. While the game promised quite a lot, and it did deliver on quite a bit, it failed to deliver on several major promises that I remember in particular. Some of the things that they actually did talk about and had ideas pitching and integrating into the game. Sea battles and boats, although there were plenty of times where you encountered water in Halo, so it's kind of strange that you never had any boat battles, but it just was never implemented. And multiplayer space combat. If you remember, Halo Reach instead had it relegated to a mission, so there was no multiplayer space combat. You couldn't go into Slayer, pick a ship, and just fight it out with that. That's real unfortunate. One of the biggest things I wish they had put into Reach. And ironically enough, Destiny really doesn't have any space combat with ships either, even though one of their cutscenes details it quite well. Very strange that they just are adverse to ship space combat. I don't know why. I don't know. You can actually see how Halo Reach could have been considered the alpha to Destiny, as it incorporated multiple gameplay areas, story, multiplayer, side modes like Firefight, allowing for the ranking up of the said character. After producing Halo Reach, it was time for Bungie to reveal Destiny. But Bungie apparently needed a publisher, a company to aid the making of Destiny to become a reality. Enter Activision, the same company that plays publisher to many other game series as well. From Skylanders to Call of Duty, Activision is pretty well known for the games that they're involved in. But what happened? Does it not seem like a match made in heaven? Activision is well known for first-person shooters, Call of Duty. Doesn't it seem just odd that Bungie wouldn't want to stay with a company like that, like publishing their own FPS? Well, let's begin. Many stories have come out about what Bungie once was and what Bungie currently is. The original 7 founding members, the 7th column as it were, they're not really together anymore. The band split up. It happens. People don't stay together. Developers move on to bigger and better things. Legendary composer Marty O'Donnell, being one of the more higher profile developers to leave Bungie, well, he showed a massive problem with the company itself.
You're fired.
It had been discussed that Activision, for a great amount of the time, had been overreaching and demanding certain things be done in certain ways. It can be difficult as an artist to be told that you're going to do something a certain way. And I mean, a person on Marty level, maybe he should have been listened to a little bit more. Bungie and Activision clearly felt differently. I don't think I have to explain much else here after that, do I? I mean, if one of the most iconic composers, very well known for a series, can be let go, clearly there's major problems, right? I don't really have to quote stories or crazy things that have come out. There's a lot of them to detail and discuss. We'd be here for a very long time. So Destiny had many people convinced that it was going to become something similar to Skyrim, mixed with Halo, where you could go anywhere and do anything. Do amazing things. Pull a Todd Howard here. You could go to that mountain. You could do anything you want. Boy, they really sold us a lie, didn't they? It was apparently the next step in the developer's evolution, but unfortunately that is not what happened. Instead, people were given a game that was chopped up into pieces, sold back to the players in DLC parts, and some of those parts were laughably small. Particularly The Dark Below and The House of Wolves, 2 DLCs that could be beaten in less than a few hours. They were really piss poor sometimes. Things continued to get worse as The Taken King was released along with The Rise of Iron, showing that 2 massive DLCs that added huge features, maps, and overall made Destiny actually feel like a completed game. But here's the problem, okay? It's rinse and repeat shallow gameplay. So those 2 DLCs, if they were incorporated in the beginning, would have made that shallow gameplay a little less shallow, but they weren't, so a lot of people had been fed up with that shallow gameplay by that time. And it once again illustrates that the game was DLC cut up, that people thought were going to be in the main game weren't, and they were just relegated to being DLC that they had to buy separately. Really would piss you off, wouldn't it? Many people then blamed the parent company, said this is all Activision's fault for forcing Bungie to chop the game up itself. But was that really true? That's a good question. Enter Eververse, a microtransaction-ridden store that did nothing more than add mostly cosmetic products that just in exchange for real-world money got you and your Guardian looking a little bit different. Okay, most of these items were arguably cosmetic only in nature, meaning that Destiny technically wasn't pay to win. But more importantly, it just illustrated the greed of the companies. This then continues over into Destiny 2. Well, Destiny 2 proves that either Bungie or Activision were both trying to chop up the game and sell it for maximum profit. Without question, this is exactly what they did yet again. Claimed once more that this game was created to just make a massive profit instead of being a comprehensive Destiny game being chopped up into pieces, DLC for the game itself. It could be argued that the reason a second one was created was because they needed a new engine to use for some of the features, or rather that because the original it was developed around the 360, that's how old it is, and the PS3, they were the base systems, which limited the game itself at its core, even if it ran on an Xbox One or a PlayStation 4. So it makes sense that they would have to introduce an entirely new game. I suppose, I don't know, I'm not a developer, but just thinking about it that way, I guess it makes more sense. It's just one less scam, scandal, or lie being fed to us, so take solace in that. Another argument for Activision forcing Bungie to change its core idea is them publishing it on the Xbox instead of, exclusively going with the PlayStation, which lends a bit of credence to that kind of theory, the recent split between Bungie and Microsoft at the time. It's now available for the PC, something that previously Destiny was not. And while playing on the PC myself, it felt much, much better. I mean, even now, the footage that you're going to be seeing in this video is just me personally playing through Destiny 2, enjoying myself. I'm having a really good time enjoying the game, and it is a fun and enjoyable game, but it's just run and gun, silly action, not to be taken to depth at its core, not to be played super hardcore. Otherwise, you get sucked in and you start to see the rinse and repeat type gameplay. You just pick up the control, you have a good time, and especially on PC, this is a really, really fun game to play. So yeah, it almost feels like I'm not covering a very negative news story, but I am, and it's real unfortunate. But at least playing the game is a nice detraction. I feel like there was so much of a missed opportunity to not put the original Destiny on PC. It's so much smoother and more fluent than any of the consoles I've ever played, and it looks so much better. It loads faster. Oh man, this experience is definitely the definitive experience. And I got this absolutely free with Humble Bundle, so I didn't even pay a dime for the PC version. But I did pay full price for a lot of the DLCs and a lot of the main games, and I've been playing since Alpha and the betas launched. So I have quite a bit of experience with this. However, if it was Activision's fault for preventing the PC release of the OG Destiny, or their fault for it coming to the Xbox, it doesn't really matter anymore because currently Destiny 2 is on the PC, and as I said before, it's a pretty good and fun game. If you can get it for cheap enough, I would strongly suggest trying it out, at least on PC. Make sure your PC can run it too, that's kind of an important part. But yeah, it's still a chopped up DLC-ridden mess filled with microtransactions. Don't forget that. Again, I'm just playing the base game here on PC. I didn't shell out any money for the DLC packages. I'm a smart boy, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a patient boy. They'll go on sale or they'll be free eventually. Because the Destiny system equalizes across the board, that means a level 1 does as much damage as a level 20 in multiplayer. So there's really no pay to win here. I mean, even if you did get something to help you level up, it really wouldn't matter, ultimately. I guess, I don't know. Some people feel a little differently about it subjectively. Yeah, you could get better weapons in Crucible with different effects, but you essentially still do the same amount of damage. Just the kill time's a lot quicker and you benefit from the effects of the armor or the weapons. I don't know. You could feel a different way, so feel free to comment down below. Anyways, people still felt it was grimy because of how ridiculous the things can be that you can get, ranging from a better Sparrow to a ship that literally does nothing but look better, to leveling up to a completely new DLC. So yeah, you could literally insta-level to the DLC point and just be good to go to play the DLC, which is something that they do offer. Destiny 2 is still shallow. It still has a little depth, and it's still the same fetch quest. The go here, kill this, then unlock this door quest that people constantly disliked from the first one. It does have new quests, it does have new features, but at its core, it's still the same shallow gameplay that people didn't like. And this led a lot of people to not only hate Bungie, but blame Activision for the direction of the developer. For whatever reason, I don't know why they're still blaming Activision for this, but they are. Now, when people had heard that Activision and Bungie were no longer together, they think magically that everything's going to be fixed. But it's not. It really isn't. I don't understand why people are so happy about this. Let me go ahead and take you back to the Halo 3 days, okay? This is real important. You've got to stay with me to the end. Bungie handled the multiplayer portions of Halo 3 with the simple ranking system based upon skill in wins versus skill in losses and matches played, okay? Are you with me here? So essentially, you could game the system by losing so much only to win a large amount later on and then rank up fast. This bred people selling accounts and derankers, people who would initially not help the team in any way in an effort to actually lose. How did Bungie deal with this, you ask? Well, for the most part, they did nothing. Outside of quitting too much, there's really no real punishment to be had for being bad at Halo 3. But being a team shooter, it causes big problems, because when 1 to 2 people do nothing on your team, and, well, hey, that can cause a little bit of an issue when you're 2v4 there. And you don't want to lose, because then you lose rank. So yeah, you see what happens. Accounts also being sold were banned if discovered by Microsoft or Bungie, so that policy itself actually fell upon the publishers and not developers so much. So Microsoft would just ban their accounts if they saw that they were selling accounts. They really sure did care about Halo 3, didn't they? And I'm not saying that they didn't, or they didn't do other things. That was a really big issue that really wasn't addressed for a very long time, or they just couldn't address it. So what about reach, though? That's the thing. Remember how I said you could keep track and go across the board and rank up your character no matter what you were doing, campaign, multiplayer, or firefight mode? Yeah. So there used to be that mode called firefight, and this mode paid out a large amount of credits and ranked up players fast. You could rank up very quickly doing this. But rank only unlocked armor and customizations, but otherwise really did nothing outside of player cosmetics. So within Firefight, players would often idle and do nothing, derailing the team gameplay aspect. Sometimes players would even find spots to just wait and hide inside until the match was finished so that they could just get free XP. They would use a rubber band for the control stick and keep moving, or get a couple kills, then keep moving, and they were free to do whatever they wanted while the match was going on. So they didn't have to actually play the game, but they got all the rank. How did Bungie handle this? Well, they carpet banned 25,000 players whom had more than 5 games that did not have a good amount of kills within this game mode. This was not something that they initially did either. This took them a while to do. So, meaning, over the course of several months, if you started a firefight match, walked off, and forgot about it a few times, Bungie considered you a cheater who needed banned. Banned for 2 weeks, reset, no credits, no rank, nothing, back to the start. Destiny doesn't necessarily have any craziness like that happening, nor did Destiny 2 really, with the exception for people being banned on PC for various glitches and problems. And at this point in time, I mean, you might as well just face the fact that you could be banned for doing anything. These AAA companies really don't care when it comes to PC. You get banned for a glitch, you get banned for saying something wrong. I mean, you just might as well accept the fact that you could be banned at any second. My point is that with this major history lesson, do you really think that Activision was the only problem? The only one? That Bungie somehow just couldn't negotiate a deal where their game wasn't hacked up into DLC? Where microtransactions weren't involved or shoved into it in some way, shape, or form? Activision might have overseen and encouraged heavily certain things to happen, but now that they're free, they should be able to remove stuff like that, right? So Eververse isn't in the game anymore, right? Well, no. But you say, the contract might still be in play, and you know what? You're absolutely right. Bungie might have Destiny 2, but there might be some remnants of that deal that they had still present. Which leads me to my final point. Everyone's willing to jump aboard Bungie's ship and go into such a bright future, while I'm sitting here just thinking, is everybody going to suddenly do a 180 now with Bungie? That They were on track for destruction. Now they're just magically going to turn everything around and perfectly suit every person's interest because they're not working with Activision anymore. I think you're all very mistaken, unfortunately. I'd like to think that's what's going to happen, but yeah, Bungie doesn't exactly have a good track record. Bungie would have had to have planned accordingly to not only remove the Eververse, but also any DLC that they already had planned coming up that might have already been created, completely change it, or put it into individual games, or piece it together for Destiny 3. So what do you think is more likely to happen? Do you think any of those scenarios are likely to happen? Or do you think Bungie's just going to keep doing what it's doing? Putting out DLC packages and keep microtransactions in the game. What do you exactly think is going to happen now that Bungie are in full control of Destiny? That somehow this game is going to become amazing with no DLC and no Eververse? Did everybody forget about the poor writing? Did everybody forget about the many things that just don't make sense? It's a pretty game. It sounds very nice, but it has a story that, unless you're looking into the Grimoire cards and you're looking in deep into the lore, half the time it doesn't make sense. The Hive are magic, these guys worship machines, and the Cabal really don't like you guys. Okay? Come on, man. Come on. A lot of this stuff just doesn't make sense. How have the Taken not just taken the entire universe? Oh, Proto, you didn't read this one Grimoire section. Yeah, exactly. That's my point. I didn't read every single Grimoire card. So I don't know. But I played the game extensively and I still don't know. Activision leaving is not going to fix that. Perhaps the story actually is the worst part. Not just the DLC, not Eververse, but rather the story that fails to explain so much to the player. You know what? If the answer is no, and nobody actually expects anything to change, then what was it so great about Activision leaving? Really, what was the whole point of this? The original developers are gone, okay? Microtransactions and DLCs are now the standard. So what exactly is going to change? That's the point of this video. To show you that Activision, though a problem, was not the biggest problem, and that Bungie are not the same developers. Destiny 3 might be as amazing as Halo 3 was, but I really wouldn't hold my breath if I were you. Because if history shows us anything, it will not only be chopped up, but filled with broken promises. But perhaps Eververse will begin selling pay to win. Perhaps it will be a Sony exclusive. And perhaps you will be disappointed again. Now, this was an extremely lengthy video, and I appreciate you sticking around if you did, in fact, watch to the end. I've always wanted to do an expose over Destiny and Destiny 2 because I'm a die-hard fan. I absolutely love the series, and I've calmed down in my more recent years and recent months. I've been playing it on PC, really enjoying my time. If you do want to try out the game, check it out for PC. I can't highly recommend it more. Get it for PC. I do hope that Bungie does things a lot better, and I do hope that Activision doesn't fall by the wayside and, in fact, does a 180 themselves and start coming back to reality of what gamers actually want. If you guys enjoyed this video, you can click the thumbs up and let me know by sharing this. You can also support me by just clicking the subscribe button. There's nothing better that would support me cheaper. I mean, it's absolutely free, and you get notified for my videos under the subscription tab. Just check it out. I have a new video up. There you go. Now, I've been talking for almost 30 minutes now. This is going to be cut down. Probably going to be a 15 to 20 minute video. I'm going to do my best to keep it to where you can actually view it in a decent manner of time. But I do really appreciate you guys checking this video out. Now, I've been your host, Protomario, and I'm signing out. And hopefully you guys will enjoy my other videos as well. Thanks for watching, and as always, good gaming, God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.